Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today to do a review on Life and Death, a little review and discussion. So if you guys don't know, Life and Death is by Stephenie Meyer and she released it on her 10th anniversary of Twilight. Now this is a gender swap of everybody in the characters except Charlie and Renee. And she explains it all in the foreword, but the reason why she didn't change Charlie and Renee is because back in the time when this was supposed to be taking place, that it's very unlikely that Charlie would be the one to have full custody of Bella versus her mom having her as she is in the original story. So she kept those two the same. I thought that this was an interesting idea to do, and she said that it would be a lot cooler to do for her fans instead of like a just like little thank you letter in her anniversary edition. So I was excited to pick this up and see how she changed around the entire story, and I was kind of hoping Midnight Sun, as you all know in my video that I hold this in, but I wanted to check this out anyways. So getting started with this book, I wasn't sure where to go with it, like how to start off, of what to think before I started it, so I just jumped right in. So we have Edith instead of Edward and Beau instead of Bella, and it's actually Beaufort. Everybody's making a big stink about that name, but she basically uses Beau as it anyway, so it didn't really bother me that bad. With this, I had a really hard time picturing the characters. So trying to picture Beau as a tall, lanky guy was pretty easy, but to picture Edith as this beautiful, cold type of girl was... I could not picture a girl vampire. And I know that like Alice and Rosalie and Renesmee sort of is, and Esme are girl vampires, but I just for some reason could not picture her as this cold, standoffish character in the book. I think this would have gone over a lot better if it would have been like a completely new story, and it wasn't, if you weren't trying to constantly compare Life and Death versus Twilight. If those two weren't like back to back, or if they weren't, if she released Life and Death versus released Twilight, I think it would have done a lot better. But because you already have the preconceived notion of Twilight in your head, it's hard to take that, completely erase it, when it's basically the same story except different character genders. So I had issues with trying to think of the characters as their own. And she sort of tried to write it as their own characters and then kept the same lines, and I didn't think it meshed very well. Things that Beau said, the same that Bella said, I feel like didn't completely come across. And same with Edith as well, like the things that Edith said didn't sound like something that Edith would say, like it still sounded like Edward. So they did have a distinct voice a little bit, but not enough to really submerge yourself into the story. Definitely not as good as Twilight. I know that I probably could be biased because I loved the Twilight books so much. Not to mention, I'm now switching views, and I find that a lot of my books that I read are from a woman's point of view, which makes it easier for me to submerge myself into the story. And might also be why that I couldn't really dive into this story as much, is because I'm now suddenly reading from a man's point of view. And I definitely want to get past this. So I want to pick up some more male point of view characters that are the main focus of the story. So I'm definitely going to try to do that, because I didn't like not being able to relate to Beau purely because he was a guy, but I think it's more like because it doesn't really fit the persona of a lot of male characters. And I get that the whole reason she wanted to do this was because she got a little, Bella's a damsel in distress, and she goes, no, she was a human in distress. She wasn't a damsel in distress. It would have been the same if it was a boy. And I believe that to an extent, but I don't think it's believable enough just to switch the genders and be like, yes, this works. It's the same words and the same problem, so it works. She didn't make it enough of a different story. But I know she was trying to make it a story, but it didn't quite mesh together that well. There are a few things that she changed in this book. she left out a lot, and I get that it's just like a short, different story of Twilight, but one thing that really bothered me was the Rosalie, or Royal. They never really explained her backstory, and so the entire time, Royal just hated Beau. Just hated him. And the way that the story ended, he just continually still hated Beau, because there was never that explanation. So basically, he was like a very, very background character that never got his chance to shine and explain his story and why he was so angry. So he just was constantly the person in the background being angry. And he was just like a very weird character in this book. He did not get to do his self-justice with this. Also, same with Alice's counterpart. He did not get to, I can't even remember his name. I remember his description, or they said their description, but what is his name? That's gonna bother me. Archie. Archie is Alice's counterpart. I don't know, why didn't they do like Alec or something? Archie is weird. Archie, yes, he can see the future and everything like that, or he can see possible outcomes of the future, but they had a very insta-love bromance going on, and I hated that. Archie said to Beau, hey, we're gonna be best friends, and then Beau just kind of accepted it because he knew that he was going to he knew that he could tell the future, or could see future possibilities, and I thought that was very ingenuine, and it didn't all pan out for me. There was just, I felt like everything was crammed, and getting towards the end of the book, everything got super crammed, so it just didn't do justice. She basically fit in 4 books into one. Like all the relationships and things. So we obviously know that it's not going to be continued to the rest of the series being gender swapped. It's not gonna happen. Because one, wouldn't work with the rest of her books, like Beau being pregnant, and different aspects of the book. I was not crazy about this book. I was a lot more excited than I probably should have been, and the hype got to me. I gave this book, I think, I gave it a 4 stars on Goodreads, but if I'm being truthfully honest, it's probably a 3.5. I know a lot of people were really harsh on this, and I think that they were harsh because they were expecting a whole new story. And you have to think, she basically just gender swapped it. Like, that is it. It's the bare minimum. Don't expect too much. So yeah, I'm gonna start getting into the spoilery section, so if you want to read this book and you haven't, go ahead and click on out of here. I will wait. So I'm gonna jump into the spoilery section of this book now. And I was surprised. I was so glad that I didn't get spoiled that she changed the ending. I was reading and all of a sudden, like, I was starting to fall asleep because I could not connect to these characters, and it just felt like it was dragging on for a while there. And then all of a sudden, right before I was about to be like, oh, I already know everything that's happened, I'm just gonna stop reading, everything changed. And I was like, whoa, now I have my attention. Even though I hated the change. Hated the change. Okay, so all of you, hopefully, that are still here have read it, or you're not planning on reading it. Beau goes to the ballet studio, just like Bella did, and Bella and family are too late to save him. So there's only 2 options that Archie has seen, and it's either going to be that he gets changed into a vampire, or he dies from Edith trying to save him. So Edith was all like, it's your decision, I don't want to make this for you, and he just said, I want you. So she changes him, and this is at the point where he knows really nothing about being a vampire, doesn't know anything about the Volturi, doesn't know anything about the backgrounds or any of the rest of their background history. Like, so he's just basically infatuated right now. Like, Bella had 4 books to be in love with Edward, and Beau had like a hot minute to be in love with him and be like, yes, this is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life, and I'm never gonna see my parents again, I'm never gonna say goodbye, I'm never gonna say goodbye to my friends. Like, I'm ready to throw everything away for you. Which sounds like a cautionary tale to me, to be completely honest. So while Beau is being transformed into a vampire, Edith is holding him, telling him all about the Volturi and the rules and never going to see his parents again and all of these terrible things. That's how he transitions? Granted, Bella's wasn't a walk in the park either, but at least she had something to hold on to herself, to not give in when she was transitioning. Like, you saw the agony in Breaking Dawn. Somehow Beau has the strength to push through this transition and through the fire of the venom. I just felt that this was super rushed and condensed and did not do the entire story justice. So anyway, we have Beau going through this transition and he starts to come out of it, and all of a sudden, again, he has this, same like Bella, he has this super self-control. And again, I felt like Bella had this entire 4-book length to prepare herself for the thirst and for preparing herself that she wouldn't want Edward as much as she wanted the bloodlust. And Beau was just like, got it, no big deal. And I thought that was, again, this did not do the story justice. Like, you're pretty much slapping the story in its face, saying, oh yeah, Bella had to prepare this long, but Beau got it right away. And I felt like that kind of reversed the point that Stephenie Meyer was trying to go home, is that Bella would be going through the same things as Beau did, and Beau would be going through the same things as Bella did. The ending result is the same, but the struggle is not, and I didn't like that. Another thing was the wolf pack. With the commander-in-chief being a woman. This, I felt this was not planned out very well. So if the reason why she didn't change Charlie and Renee was because it was unlikely that he would have gotten her. If it was reversed, wouldn't it be the same thing with the eldest chief in the wolf pack? Like, I feel like back then it would have had to be a man. I don't know, I really didn't like the wolf part of this entire story, and Jules I looked at as very immature compared to Jacob, and I thought of Jules more as like a younger sister to Beau versus Jacob being a younger brother to Bella. I hated that part. So the wolves basically got the shaft and got like very little book time with this. Also, like, the conflict in Beau's mind was nowhere near Jules. And I don't remember if in the first book Bella's mind was near Jacob's, but I just thought that it was not there. Another part of the story that I hated was poor Charlie. So they're sitting there watching the funeral, and the last words that she said to Charlie were the words that with what her mother, or what his mother said to him, and that's where they ended off. And I'm like, Charlie did not deserve that. Like, that was part of the book that probably broke my heart the most, that she like changed, because I just wanted to like hug Charlie and be like, you don't deserve this, like, it's okay. I hated Charlie being hurt. And one last little rant is that I thought it was so dumb that Stephenie Meyer poked holes in her own story. Like, there's a part where it's like, well, if it would have been the other way, it's not like they would have been safe forever anyways. And they just kind of like brush off the entire ending of Breaking Dawn. And I was like, why would you do that to your readers? But again, I could be judging this too harshly because I love Twilight so much, and I get that. And I get that it wasn't supposed to be a whole new story. I applaud her for doing something different, and I applaud her for trying to take a stab at all of the negative comments coming back against her characters, and that she was really invested in this enough to do this. But I just don't think that it was 100% executed as well as I was hoping for. But I get that she didn't have enough time, blah blah blah. I did like that we got the forward and the afterward in the books kind of from Stephenie, which I thought was really cool. So let me know what you guys thought about Life and Death, and if I'm being too critical about the whole thing, totally is possible. And if you plan on picking it up or not. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.